Howdy folks, let's take a look at mining in Empyrion. I did a mining video a few months ago, but a lot of updates have come out since then, so I thought it would be a good idea to revisit the topic. Now, I had plenty of questions and did a lot of mining to test them. You are welcome to try any of these or try your own tests, but remember folks, the difference between science and screwing around is writing it down. The first thing we need to do is look at the different ways to mine. There are 5 different ways. Some of them are not very well known. The first is with SV weapons or a rocket launcher. You can actually do this in a pinch if you have absolutely no other way to mine and you only need a very small number of ores, because it actually takes a while and it doesn't get very much. It's also really hilarious because, as you can see, the ores magically appear above your ship when you're doing it in an SV and over your head when you're doing it with a rocket launcher. However, it's really wasteful on ammo, and you actually only get a tiny fraction of the available ores. So I would only suggest using this in an emergency or when you need a laugh. The other 4 methods of mining all yield a comparable amount of ores. For this deposit, which was labeled as containing 160 ores, it ranged from 125 to 184 ores with an average of 150. Yep, you heard that correctly. I got up to 184 ores out of a mine containing 160. So anyway, the real differences between methods are how much time is spent and how much fuel it takes. Next up is slow mining. When you hold the right mouse button only, the drill works very slowly. I tried this and it took over 6.5 times as long to empty out a deposit. It was over 13 minutes. It was painful, and it used up almost 4 times as much drill ammo. So I really do not recommend this method at all unless you have a very compelling reason to do so, if you want to go slow for whatever reason. Next is using only the left mouse button on the drill. This method is somewhat fast and it's very fuel efficient, but when you consider that a whole drill pack only costs 2 ores, the savings here are really not worth the extra time you spend. Look at it this way, you can mine over 30 more ores in the amount of time it takes you to save 2 ores. So yeah, not worth it. Next up is the fill and flatten tool. What you do is you drill down several meters and then flatten out with the flat tool to that level. So you use both the drill and the flatten tool. Time-wise, this method is equal to the left mouse button with the drill. Not that fuel is really a concern, but I ended up using less fuel overall. But some of that fuel was in the form of rock dust, so whether this is better than the previous method really depends on how much you value rock dust versus promethium. Finally is using the drill with both mouse buttons. This method was the fastest and used about 1.5 times as much fuel. In my opinion, this is the best method, and it's the only method I actually use for mining. Unless you are extremely desperate to save promethium, I really don't recommend any other method other than this. Now, I also had some other questions that needed testing, so let's look at those as well. When you mine, does it make a difference if you hold the drill in one spot or if you sweep the flame quickly all over the place? The answer is it does not make a difference. I'm really grateful for this too, because that was giving me a headache. I also wanted to know if distance between your drill and the rock face makes any difference in speed or the amount of ores collected. I tried shoving up against the rock face the whole time, and I also tried standing back as far as possible. Again, I found no difference in these. The other thing I tried was using a macro to switch the mouse buttons on and off at different timings. The idea was that possibly the drill had more effect at the very start or end of its cycle, and if it does, this would take advantage of the effect to speed up mining. I tried various timings from 10 milliseconds to 200 milliseconds, and none of them were faster. In fact, the 200 milliseconds timing was slower. The last thing I wanted to see was if any ores dropped out of the world while mining. I set up a way to test this, and as you can see here, the result was that from mining out 2 deposits over 300 ores and at various distances from the rock face, this one single chunk was the only one that dropped out. And notice that it dropped only after it rolled down. Now, I'm happy to admit that this test was not nearly comprehensive. I didn't cover the many different patterns people use to mine, such as going around the outside or creating a flat area or making a funnel in the middle, etc., etc. But with T-spamming, which I highly recommend, this isn't really an issue anyway. Now that we know about the different ways to mine and the fastest way to mine, here are some tips and tricks to make your mining experience more enjoyable. First is T-spamming. This means using an external program to send a T keystroke to the game many times per second and pick up all the ores. Now you can argue that the game should have this built in, and I agree that at later stages at least it should be, but until it does, you can enhance your mining experience this way. When the T key is being spammed, unless you're sweeping your mouse around like crazy, the ores are just going to go straight into your inventory, and at best you might have to pick up one every several minutes. Honestly, I can't remember the last time I had to stop and pick one up. I personally recommend using a gaming mouse that can do macros, but there's also programs out there that send a keystroke to the game every so many milliseconds. You can try Auto Keyboard or Google Key Spammer for Games or something similar. You can see links in the description. Next up is how to defend your mining site and or keep your vehicle safe from wandering drones while you're mining. There's several ways you can do this. First is to set your vehicle down, drill a crater, and fill over the top with the fill and flatten tool. This protects it from wandering drones and anything that might want to shoot at it. Next, you can bring a hover vessel with turrets on it and leave it running. On many planets, the terrain's way too much for an HV, so this is not always an option. The other easy strategy is to build an SV for mining, give it a small footprint, and then you park it on top of the mine and just start drilling. As you drill down, the ship just sinks down with you, and when you're done mining, you just get into the ship and fly out. You might want to repair your ship as you're going down because sometimes it does take damage, but it's not that often. This not only solves the defense problem, but the getting out of a huge mine problem as well. And speaking of this, you might sometimes have difficulty getting out of your mine, especially in huge deposits if you didn't bring a ship in with you. For this reason, you always want to keep a couple of extra drill packs for getting out. The most straightforward method is to point your drill upward at the steepest angle you can walk, and then just keep pushing forward as you drill. You'll eventually reach the surface. Don't forget, if you have a fill and flatten tool, you can use this to build up ledges to stand on as well. But generally it gets trickier and takes more time anyway, so I tend to recommend the drill up method. Thanks for watching, guys. That's all for this video, and I'm sure as mining changes again, I'll have to make more updates to this. If you have any comments, be sure to leave them below. And if you thought this video was useful and you want to help other people find it, please leave a like. Thanks, and later!